2 years ago, Margot was sitting in a parking lot outside a Target in Baltimore, staring at a $74 receipt and trying to remember what she went in for. She's 34, she's an event coordinator. She makes $61,000 a year, which isn't poverty and isn't wealth. It's the space in between where most Americans slowly rot. She wasn't broke the way people imagine broke, behind on rent, dodging calls from creditors. She was the other kind. The kind where you earn a reasonable salary and still can't explain where it goes. The kind where your checking account balance on the 28th of every month feels like a personal accusation. 24 months later, Margot's net worth crossed $64,000. Not because she got a raise, not because she inherited anything, not because she started a side hustle, because she executed 5 financial phases, in a specific order, that almost no mainstream financial advice ever lays out as a sequence. The order is what matters. Do them out of sequence, and you burn out inside 90 days. The 4th phase on this list is the one the financial industry does not want you to understand. And the 5th will quietly dismantle a belief about wealth you didn't even know you were carrying. Most financial advice treats wealth building like a grocery list. Save more, spend less, invest early. As though the problem is information. It isn't. The 2024 BLS Consumer Expenditure Survey found that the average American household spends $78,535 a year, against a pre-tax income of $104,207. That leaves roughly $25,000 in theoretical surplus, $25,000 a year that should be turning into wealth. It isn't turning into anything. According to the Federal Reserve's distributional financial accounts, the bottom 50% of American households held an average net worth of just $60,000 as of Q4 2024, and the top 10% held $8.1 million on average, capturing 67.2% of total household wealth. This isn't a gap caused by information. Everyone knows they should save. The gap is caused by sequence. The order in which you arrange your financial decisions determines whether you compound or collapse. A 2014 study from behavioral economists Hengchen Dai, Catherine Milkman, and Jason Reese at the Wharton School found something remarkable. They called it the fresh start effect. People are significantly more likely to pursue aspirational goals following temporal landmarks. A new month, a new year, a birthday. The brain opens a new mental accounting period. Past failures get psychologically filed away. Motivation spikes. That spike is real, but it dies within weeks unless you install a system underneath it. What follows is the system, 5 phases, 24 months, the exact sequence that moves a person from financial drift to measurable documented wealth. Margot didn't invent it. She followed it. The receipts are real. Phase 1, the hemorrhage map, months, 1 through 3. The first phase isn't saving. It isn't investing. It isn't even earning more. It's finding where you bleed. Margot spent the first 6 weeks of her financial overhaul doing one thing, printing her last 90 days of bank and credit card statements, sitting on her living room floor with a highlighter, and marking every transaction she couldn't remember making. Not every transaction she regretted, every one she couldn't remember. The difference is critical. Regret implies you thought about a purchase and chose wrong. What Margot found was worse. 43% of her discretionary spending in the prior quarter was on purchases she had no memory of making. Automated renewals, a $14.99 meditation app she used twice in 2022. A $9.99 cloud storage plan she already had through her employer. A $47 monthly wine subscription she forgot to cancel after a free trial. This isn't unique. A 2025 Bango survey of 5,000 U.S. subscribers found that the average American pays for 5.4 subscription services. Nearly 1 in 4 spends over $100 a month on streaming and subscriptions alone. Over $1,200 a year. And according to Deloitte's 2025 Digital Media Trends Report, 47% of Americans admitted they pay too much for the streaming services they use. They know. They still pay. The reason isn't laziness. It's a cognitive phenomenon called the pain of cancellation. Behavioral economists have documented that canceling a subscription triggers a mild loss aversion response. The brain treats losing access to something, even something unused, as a small loss. So you keep paying. Not because the service has value, because stopping feels like giving something up. There's a deeper layer. The financial system has been redesigned over the past 15 years to make spending invisible. Auto renewals. One-click purchasing, saved payment methods, tap to pay. Every piece of friction between you and a transaction has been systematically removed because friction is the only thing that makes you pause long enough to choose. Margot described the highlighter exercise as nauseating, not because the individual purchases were large, because the pattern was so clear once it was visible. A $6.99 charge here, a $12.49 charge there. None of them large enough to trigger attention. All of them large enough to matter when multiplied by 12 months. She canceled 11 subscriptions in the first month. Total recovered $214 a month. That's $2,568 a year. Money that had been leaving her life on autopilot every month for years, without a single conscious decision to spend it. She didn't earn a dollar more. She just stopped bleeding. That money has somewhere to go. And this is where the second phase begins, and where a principle from 1926 becomes the most dangerous financial weapon most people have never properly deployed. Phase 2, the Babylonian split, months 3 through 6. In 1926, a man named George S. Clayson published a slim book of financial parables set in ancient Babylon. It was called The Richest Man in Babylon, and it contained a rule so simple that most people dismiss it on contact. Save 10% of everything you earn. Before you pay anyone else, before rent, before food, before the electric bill, 10% comes off the top. Every time. Clayson called it fattening your purse. The modern term is pay yourself first. And the reason it works isn't discipline, it's architecture. When money hits your checking account first, your brain registers it as available. Available money gets spent. Not because you're weak, because that's how human cognition processes resources. If it's visible, it's spendable. 100 years of behavioral research confirms what a pamphlet writer in Denver understood intuitively. The only reliable way to save is to remove the money before the brain categorizes it as yours to use. Ramit Sethi, in his book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, built on Clayson's principle and turned it into something mechanical. He calls it the conscious spending plan. 4 categories. Fixed costs, 50 to 60% of take-home pay. Investments, 5 to 10%. Savings, 5 to 10%. Guilt-free spending, 20 to 35%. The trick isn't the percentages. The trick is that savings and investments leave your account before you see them. Margot opened a separate high-yield savings account at an online bank she had no app for on her phone. Every payday, the 1st and 15th, $280 transferred automatically. She never saw it. She never touched it. She set the transfer on a Tuesday afternoon in April. It took 11 minutes. After 6 months, that account held $3,360. Plus the $1,284 from canceled subscriptions she redirected into the same account. Total, $4,644. That's the emergency fund. And here's the part that sounds boring but changes everything. The emergency fund isn't about emergencies. It's about decision quality. A woman named Elise, 29, veterinary technician in Tucson, described it this way. Before she had $5,000 in a savings account, every financial decision she made was a panic decision. Her car needed new brakes, and she put it on a credit card at 24.99% APR. Her cat needed emergency surgery, and she borrowed from her mother. She was always reacting, never choosing. After she built a $4,000 buffer, the first real test came 3 months later. Her transmission failed on I-10 outside Marana. The repair cost $2,300. She paid it from savings, felt the sting, and rebuilt the fund over the next 4 months. But the feeling that changed was the one in her chest. She described it as the difference between drowning and treading water. Same ocean, completely different experience. The Vanguard 2025 How America Saves report found that 4.8% of retirement plan participants made hardship withdrawals in 2024, up from 3.6% the year before. More than a third of those withdrawals were to avoid home foreclosure or eviction. People aren't pulling from their retirement because they're irresponsible. They're pulling because they have no buffer, no space between them and the next crisis. Phase 2 creates the buffer. And once the buffer exists, Phase 3 becomes possible, because Phase 3 requires you to make calm, calculated, uncomfortable decisions. Phase 3, the invisible raise, month 6 through 12. This is the phase that separates people who save a little from people who build wealth. Margot audited every fixed cost in her life, not her lattes, not her groceries, her actual fixed costs. the recurring monthly obligations that she'd signed up for once and never revisited. She called her car insurance company and asked for a rate review. Her premium dropped $38 a month. She called her internet provider, said she was considering switching, and got a promotional rate that saved her $25 a month. She refinanced her renter's insurance through a bundle. She switched her phone plan from a major carrier to a prepaid plan on the same network, saved $44 a month. Total monthly savings from renegotiation, $107. Annual, $1,284. None of those calls took more than 20 minutes. Most took less than 10. This is the invisible raise. It isn't income. It's the restructuring of your existing obligations so that money you were already spending gets returned to you, silently, monthly, without negotiation with a boss or a side hustle or a second job. The reason no one talks about this is uncomfortable. Financial media doesn't cover renegotiating your phone plan. There's no content in it, no drama, no aspirational story. A woman calling Geico on a Tuesday lunch break doesn't make a thumbnail, but it produces more annualized return per minute of effort than almost anything else she could do with that time. Here is why this phase matters more than most people realize. The 2024 BLS data shows that housing alone consumes 33.4% of the average American spending. Transportation takes another 17%, food, 12.9%. Those three categories eat 63% of your money before you've made a single discretionary decision. Most financial advice targets the discretionary 37%. Cut the avocado toast, skip the coffee, cook at home. That advice isn't wrong. It's just small. The invisible raise targets the 63%. The structural costs, the ones nobody tells you are negotiable, because the companies charging you those prices benefit from your assumption that they aren't. Margot wasn't earning more. She was leaking less. By month 12, the combination of canceled subscriptions, automated savings, and renegotiated fixed costs had produced a net financial improvement of over $7,200. She still hadn't invested a single dollar. That changes now, and the reason it changes at month 12, and not month 1, is the most important structural insight in this entire sequence. Phase 4, the velocity shift, months 12 through 18. This is the phase the financial industry wishes you'd start with. Think about every piece of investment advice you've ever received, every ad, every app, every guru. They all say the same thing: start investing now. Time in the market beats timing the market. Your money should be working for you. All of that is true. And all of it is a trap. If you hear it before you've completed phases 1 through 3, a person who invests without first stopping the hemorrhage is pouring water into a bucket with holes. A person who invests without an emergency fund will pull the money out at the first crisis. And a 2025 Vanguard report confirmed exactly that. Hardship withdrawals are climbing. A person who invests without renegotiating their fixed costs is investing with money that could have been doubled through structural savings first. The financial industry wants you investing on day one because they earn fees on day one. The brokerage, the robo-advisor, the target date fund, they get paid when your money enters the system. Whether you're ready or not, whether the money stays or not, this is the part nobody frames clearly. The advice to start investing now isn't wrong in theory. It's wrong in practice for anyone who hasn't first stabilized their cash flow. It's like telling someone to run a marathon before they've healed a stress fracture. The advice is technically correct, and it will hurt you. The financial industry doesn't make money when you cancel subscriptions. It doesn't make money when you call your insurance provider. It doesn't make money when you build an emergency fund in a savings account. It makes money when you move capital into products. Mutual funds, ETFs, advisory accounts. Every phase before this one is invisible to the industry's revenue model. That's why they skipped to phase 4. Margot opened a Roth IRA at month 12. She set up an automatic contribution of $250 per pay period, $500 a month, into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. She didn't pick stocks. She didn't watch financial news. She didn't try to time anything. The decision was almost anticlimactic. 12 minutes on a laptop, a routing number, a recurring transfer date. Done. Vanguard's 2025 report showed that 59% of plan participants now use a single target date fund, and 67% are in some form of professionally managed allocation. The data is clear. People who automate and leave their investments alone outperform people who actively manage, consistently, across decades. Dante, a 43-year-old high school principal in Detroit, told me he spent 4 years trying to pick winning stocks before he realized his returns were trailing a basic index fund by almost 2 percentage points a year. He switched to automated index investing in 2022 and stopped checking the balance. His account grew $47,000 in 3 years, during a period that included a bear market. He didn't get smarter. He got out of his own way. By month 18, Margot had $9,000 in her Roth IRA and $8,400 in her high-yield savings. Combined with her restructured spending, her net financial position had improved by over $42,000 in 18 months. But the fifth phase is the one that makes the first 4 permanent. Without it, everything unravels inside a year. Phase 5. The identity collapse. Months 18 through 24. This is not a financial phase. This is a psychological one, and it's the reason most 2-year transformations fail in year 3. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called identity-based habits, studied extensively by researchers in the habit formation space. The premise is simple. You don't sustain behaviors that conflict with your self-image. If you see yourself as bad with money, every disciplined financial decision feels like wearing someone else's clothes. You'll do it for a while, but eventually, you'll revert to who you believe you are. Margot hit this wall at month 19. She had more money saved than at any point in her adult life, and she felt wrong. She described it as a low-grade discomfort, the sense that she didn't deserve what she'd built, that the other shoe would drop, that she was performing a role. Suki, a 31-year-old dental assistant in Portland, described the same feeling. She'd saved $11,000 over 14 months, and one Saturday, she almost drained the account on a trip to Anthropology. Not because she needed anything, because the savings account felt foreign, like it belonged to someone responsible, and she still didn't believe that person was her. This is the collapse point. This is where the system meets the self, and it's where you have to make a decision that no financial spreadsheet can make for you. You have to let the old version of yourself die. The woman who couldn't explain where her money went, the woman who checked her bank balance with one eye closed, the woman who said, "I'm just not good with numbers," because someone taught her that was a personality trait instead of a skill gap. That woman has to be released, gently, without guilt, but completely. Nobody prepares you for the grief. That sounds dramatic, but it's accurate. Letting go of an identity, even one that was holding you back, creates a small mourning period. You built relationships around that version of yourself. You made jokes about being terrible with money. You bonded with friends over shared financial anxiety. That anxiety was a social glue. Removing it changes the texture of your relationships in ways you don't expect. Margot lost 2 friendships during this period, not because she became arrogant or preachy, because she stopped participating in the ritual complaint, the Saturday afternoon text chain about being broke, the casual, "I can't afford that," that was never really about affording it. It was about belonging to a group defined by shared financial struggle. When she stopped performing that struggle, the group felt her absence as a judgment. She didn't judge them. They judged themselves, and they projected it onto her. Phase 5 is the 6 months where you stop performing financial discipline and start recognizing it as identity. You're not budgeting anymore. You are a person who knows where her money goes. You're not saving. You are a person with savings. The behavior and the self merge. Margot started talking about money differently around month 20, not with shame, not with performance, with fluency. She could name her savings rate 22%. She could name her investment balance. She could name the interest rate on her high-yield account. She wasn't reciting numbers. She was describing herself. By month 24, her total net worth sat at $64,200 from 0 intentional savings on a $61,000 salary, without a raise, without a side hustle, without a single viral moment or lucky break. Just 5 phases, executed in the right order, defended against her own psychology. The system didn't require brilliance. It required patience and a willingness to do the boring thing at the right time instead of the exciting thing at the wrong time. Look at what shifted in the last 20 minutes. You came here expecting a list of money tips. Save here, cut there, invest in this. What you got was a sequence, an architecture. The difference between knowing what to do and knowing when to do it, and why the order matters more than any individual step. The next obstacle is quieter than you expect. It isn't motivation. It isn't information. It's the moment Around month 4 or month 5, when the savings account has a few $1,000s in it and nothing dramatic has happened, no windfall, no visible transformation, just a slow, invisible thickening of the floor beneath you, that's the moment most people quit. Not because it stopped working, because it stopped being exciting. Wealth doesn't feel like winning. It feels like waiting, and no one warns you about that. You clicked this video expecting a trick, a shortcut, maybe a secret investment or a hidden income stream. What you found was harder to accept, that the path from poor to wealthy is not hidden. It's ignored because it's quiet, because it's sequential, because it asks you to become a different person before it gives you a different account balance. Carry one thought with you tonight. The money was never the first problem. The sequence was. If something just rearranged itself in how you think about your own financial life, if you can feel the architecture forming, subscribe. Every script on this channel pulls apart another system that profits from your confusion. The next one will make this one hit differently.